All right, we're rolling. Cool. So, to the 1% better fans listening in, today we've got Max on the podcast slash video call. So what we might do, Max, is I'll actually get you to just give a brief introduction to who you are and what it is that you do.
Cool. So my name's Max Hertan. I'm 28. I run a few different ventures, I guess. So my main thing for income is a marketing company called Megaphone Marketing, which is a team of 16 people, and it's a digital marketing company. Then I also am an investor in a fashion company called Squeak, which does handbags and scarves and stuff like that. And then I'm also building up my YouTube channel, which is called Max Hertan, or Max's Monthly Challenge, where every month I try to learn something new and really deep dive into it, which has been comedy, skateboarding, drawing, juggling, all kinds of fun stuff. And then I also put out regular content about like philosophy, happiness, lifestyle and stuff like that, of some of the best lessons that I've learned to help build my companies and, just learn skills faster.
Killer. Yeah, the videos are really good. Like the first time you reached out to me and I saw them, I thought that's pretty cool, but I just wasn't completely sold on you. But I'm glad you persisted, and then you reached out to me and I thought, hang on a minute, like I couldn't really see a fit for 1% better, but I didn't even think of a podcast the first time around. And then when you suggested maybe hop on and have a chat or something like that, I'm like, hell, why don't I bring you on the podcast? That sounds fun. So here we are.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Welcome. Cool. So what I really want to get into today is the accelerated learning stuff. I absolutely love that. However, I also am very interested in the business side of things. And a lot of my audience are trying to build their own side hustle or their online business or something online. That's where it's all happening these days. And obviously, building an online business can give you some sense of freedom, and that's where people can develop their passions, make a living for themselves, and live an awesome life. So that sort of thing. Anyway, so I'd love to dig deep into your story, like where you started out, how you felt, your direction after high school, and how you eventually came to building, I think you said a 7-figure business in my email, which is a really great achievement. So we definitely want to learn more about that. So why don't you take us back to, let's say when you were around 17 or 18 years old, Max, when you were in what we call year 12 here in Australia. I just want to know what your direction of life was looking like, what you were into, and sort of just how you're feeling at that stage.
Yeah, I'd say 17 and 18, I was kind of still seeing things kind of how everyone sees things to some degree in society. So I guess my perception of the world was you do well at school, then you go to university to try to do well at university to try to get a job. And I didn't really see the full potential of the world. So I kind of felt to some degree that I was a little bit different to the other kids at school. I had my own business in high school, and I was playing online poker for a living and coaching poker as well. And so I was always a little bit unconventional to some degree. And I was like a silly kid. I was always getting in trouble at school and just kind of goofing around. But at that point in my life, I guess I thought I'll just do the degree that seems the least boring. So I did commerce economics, which to some might sound very boring, but I like economics, funnily enough. But yeah, I guess I still was pretty constrained on my view on the world and like the expansiveness of it and the opportunities and things like that.
All right, tell us more about this online poker. This is interesting. This is unconventional. What the hell made you go, all right, I'm going to start online poker and then actually coach people?
Yeah, so I guess I was always unconventional in the ways that I made money. And I think with poker, what happened was I was 16 and my brother, who was 18, was playing a tournament for like $3 entry and ended up coming like third and made it $300 or $400. And I thought, oh, if my brother can do it, I can definitely do it as like the competitive brother.
Yes.
And so I was too young to deposit money online. So what I could do was play something called a free roll, which was a free entry to play tournament. And you could win real money. So it'd be like 2,000 people and there'd be like $50 up for grabs. And I just played them consistently until I won like a few dollars. And then I put those few dollars on the table and just kept grinding up $2 to $5 to $10. And by the time I was 18, I think I had about 4,000 American. So it still was relatively small at that point. But that, I think it was around that point where I started taking it a little bit more seriously. And then I started getting into like, coaching, because I realized it was a fairly high variance game, poker. So I thought, to try to get some more consistent cash flow, there's a couple of things that I got particularly skilled in poker, which was heads up poker, which is just you versus one other person. So I really kind of honed in on that, and I started coaching people around that. And I also thought it'd be a good way to kind of force me to have to learn more, because if someone asked me a really technical question, then I would have to know the answer as the coach. So it really made me study the game more seriously and take it more seriously, which in turn made my poker more serious. And it became a good income stream for me in my like late teens and early 20s.
Okay. Would you say you've always been the entrepreneurial business type, or do you feel like that was developed as a result of poker?
I'd say I was always like, in primary school, I used to sell comic books and draw designs and sell them. And then in high school, I just was always trying to take a lot of pouches of refresher towels and sell them to kids on my bus, or just like whatever kind of crazy idea. But I was always trying to think of ways, I guess, to I don't know, do things my own way.
Okay. So what was the next step? What degree did you take again? Economics in university.
Yeah, commerce economics.
Okay. And how long were you there at university?
I was there for 5 years. It was a 4-year degree, and I underloaded it, so I did it over 5.
Okay. Does 5 year mean like master's, PhD, or what is that?
No, so it was a double degree. So it was a 4-year degree, and then I just did it over 5 to kind of make it a little bit more relaxing.
Okay, and throughout, I mean, 5 years is a long time, and a lot can change in your mindset and in your external circumstances during that 5 years. But on average, how did you feel walking into university each day?
I'd say I became less convinced about university as a system for me, just because I wasn't really learning practical advice. I didn't really respect a lot of my teachers.
Okay.
I just felt like they just weren't excited by what they were teaching, and it was all like I could just read this stuff online. But the things that were exciting for me is I started up a radio show in university, which was pretty fun. I did a lot of partying as well, so I like to go to university parties, and I ended up starting up a university party listings website. So we used to list every single party and society event across Australia on our website. And so that was something that I was passionate about. But towards the end of my university degree, I stopped going to classes, and I just kind of wanted to pass and get it done to a high degree.
Okay, now tell us about your parents and their influence on you going to university, because I know a lot of people even come to me, and a lot of my subscribers are saying they want to make this leap, or they just aren't passionate about what they're doing at university, and that was my story as well. So what was your parents' view on you sort of not going to classes in that last year?
I think they just my dad's probably more traditional, and just said, hey, you should get good grades, you should go to university, you should apply for a lot of jobs and get a safe job. I think my mum was a little bit more like, you'll have success in whatever you do. So probably was more just relaxed about it, and kind of said, like, if you're passionate about something, follow it. Okay. Yeah, I don't think that they were too strong of an influence on me at that point.
Yeah, I think we're kind of lucky that way, because it sounds like they're a bit looser than a lot of people have it. You know, some parents are really hard. They're like, you know, we're going to desert you if you don't go to uni, kind of thing. And it's real, like, it's crazy. So I think we're kind of blessed in that way, hey?
Definitely.
Yeah, all right, cool. So, I mean, at that point then, you would have been, what, 24 years old in your 5th year of university?
Yeah, I think I started a bit young, so I think I was 22 or 23 when I finished.
Okay, did you skip any grades or anything in school?
I skipped a grade of kindergarten.
Okay, so. Gotcha. One of those guys. Yeah, we used to have them too. All right, cool. And so if you're 22, 23, hang on, is that can you hear that beeping? Is Skype beeping on us?
No, I can't hear it.
All right, maybe, it's my Discord chat. Sorry, I just got to close this off.
That's all right.
drive me and the viewers crazy. All right, I think it's gone now. Okay, cool. So I'm just piecing this together now. Do you remember your last day of university, like distinctly, or not?
I think I remember like just being done with exams and just walking out and just like screaming, like hell yes. It was a real sense of relief. Yeah, just that whole system of studying and cramming, and I hadn't really put my finger on it at this point in my life, but on retrospect, I can kind of realize what it was. It was just a sense of release, and it was just really not a system that was really the right system for me. For a lot of reasons.
I mean, yeah, so this university thing, it's a big conversation. Personally, I'm really not for it, and I know some of my entrepreneurial buddies disagree with me, and it's all this controversy, but I'm very firm in I don't like the system, but obviously it's easy to blame the system and go, it's not working, blah blah blah. You know, that's one thing, but another thing is doing something about it. So I won't tell it off too much. But if you've got any, where can I go with this without turning it into a giant debacle? Like just briefly, what changes would you like to see to the university system that can make it more effective for students going in there today?
Well, I'll just say one thing as a slight side note is I recently got contacted by a guy that follows my online content and my journey with Megaphone, and he's finished year 12. And he didn't want to go into university, and he's kind of doing what I think some people like Gary Vaynerchuk, like the business expert, kind of suggest, which is like a real life mentorship, a real life degree. So he's going out, he's starting his own business, he's trying to get a series of mentors, he's trying to find people that he respects to work for free, and he's going to spend some of the money that he might have in university and setting up a business and open to whatever that happening. But I think that, you know, if entrepreneurship or business is something that's interesting for you, I think that that's a pretty cool way of doing it, particularly if you can get a mentorship and with some people and get some really practical work. But in terms of the university system, I guess some of the issues, it's not something that I've thought as deeply about as other issues, but I think that, let me think, I guess, it just everything was a little bit dated and not very practical. So I just think trying to give people more practical and relevant work so that you can actually be well equipped, or you're learning something that's actually going to be tangible for when you get out of university is the goal, as opposed to going very theoretical. And a lot of people argue, well, you're learning how to learn, but you can learn how to learn doing anything. And so if that's the only thing that you're doing, then it seems a bit wasted. So having more practical components, more hands-on, more like projects in the real world, or things like that. It's also specifically for what I did, which was I did marketing, finance, and economics as my majors. So all of those things, having it all theoretical just took away from really understanding the value of it, or being able to incorporate it in the real world. Yeah.
Yeah, my skin's just getting fired up talking about this. This is why I don't want to go too deep. But man, just one thing real quick. Like, I was at university for a year and a half. Didn't really think about it, but I think it was, a year in or so, I switched from IT to marketing, because that's when I was into self-development. I learned about this online business stuff and what's happening with the world. And yeah, like I was able to compare learning marketing through university and learning marketing and business through my mentor at that time. And it's just the stark difference between how they go about things there and actually learning it from someone who's like in it every day, in the hustle, in a real business, doing like 200K a year, and then learning those lessons and then being able to implement them myself. Like, it's so much more distinct, direct, effective, actionable, in my experience, learning from my mentor who's in it, than just this regurgitated theory. And even one of our teachers that were teaching us in marketing had only been out after her master's, after 4 or 5 years of studying the university system. She only went out in the workforce for 1 year, then came back and started teaching marketing. And it's like, well, you've been out there for 1 year. Like, I'd rather learn from the guy that's actively doing it now. He's got results, and he's been doing it for like 6 years, 7 years. Like, what the hell? And it's like free because I offered him value. And so it's like, what the fuck? Anyway,
it's ridiculous.
Don't go there.
Yeah. one thing that I was looking at doing with a friend was building a school of founders that have all made seven-figure bigger businesses by the time they were 30 to teach people coming out of school, entrepreneurship, marketing, finance, accounting, things like that. We were looking at potentially putting on a school. It's still something in the background that I'll maybe consider in the future. But I think that that's way more appealing for me at that age, going, yeah, I want to do, speaking to people that have done it, that are still young enough to be excited about, you know, all the new technology and all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on before I blow up. I can feel my face is red, man. It's probably not a bad thing to let off some steam, but anyway, let's move on. Because we've got, I don't know, 30 or 40 minutes. So, let's talk about, now before you had Megaphone Marketing built up, you said you had another venture you started. When was that? What was it?
I mean, there's been quite a few. Okay. There was a uni party listings thing. So that was listing all the parties, and I ended up getting some sponsorship from Red Bull and Future Music Festival. And we built it into a big website, and we ran our own parties. But we were kind of just reinvesting any money that it made back into running the business. So it was not really a profitable thing. Poker coaching was a big thing for me, from freelance animation and graphic design. But yeah, I'd say Megaphone Marketing was like the first thing that I did that I really focused on it for a serious period of time. And like by far the most profitable for me relative to any other venture I've done.
Where did freelancing come into the equation? How old were you?
Freelancing since I was about 16. So
okay.
Yeah, I had a lot of interest in Flash when I was younger, so making animations. So I used to make like a couple of freelance animations. I did some graphic design, like sold some t-shirt designs. It was just bits and pieces. When opportunities came out, I wasn't proactively trying to find work, but if someone said, hey, do you know anyone that can do this, people would be like, oh yeah. And then I'd just do some work whenever those things came around.
Okay, gotcha. So let's talk about hitting the 5K to 10K mark per month. Was Megaphone Marketing your first venture where you're able to hit that mark?
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
So,
yep. Did you want to say something?
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Yep. Cool. All right. So in that case, yeah, let's start at the very beginning then of Megaphone Marketing. How did it go from being absolutely not existing to nothing in your head to something? This could be, you know, a 10-minute spiel, but let's see. Go for it.
Cool. So when I was 23, but just before this, I'd gone to a career fair and looking at different jobs to apply, and I walked around. I was like, nothing is appealing to me. Everything kind of looks terrible. So I thought I'll take 1 year to see if I can make my own business venture work. And my goal was to make $20,000 for that year. And I knew that I had some residual poker income to like live off to some degree, but the goal was to make $20,000. And I started working harder on uni party listings. I started another software company, which I quickly killed. But I had done some work experience for a music festival and doing their social media, and it had gone really well because I just tried to make a really good job for them. So I started researching all these courses on it, and I just wanted to show them that I could provide them a lot of value because I like the music festival. And because of that, I bumped into a friend who we spoke about that, and he said, hey, I've got this company that's selling some apps, and I've got a client that wants to do some marketing. Do you want me to sell you? I'll take a 20% cut. You take 80% cut. I'll try to sell them for X number of dollars. I was like, okay, that sounds amazing, because I needed some money. So it sounded like a good deal. And he ended up writing up the contract, doing the sales pitch, everything. And then we were like, oh, let's do this as a business. You do the sales. I'll do all the technical work and the account management, and we can turn this into a business. And he ended up having another business on the side, which is now a huge business, being an 8-figure bigger business. But he very quickly realized that the other thing was a big opportunity. So he ended up leaving a month or so later. And so I still like the idea of running a social media agency, particularly because it was so cash flow positive, very low risk. There's not a lot of overheads. It's something that, to reach my goal of 20,000, which was like that goal that I set out, if I'm building a tech company, it might win, it might lose. Whereas this, it's got a good chance of actually making some money. So I really focused in on that. And then for the rest of the year, I was just trying to get clients and learn more about social media and Google advertising. And so the next client came from like a friend. He was working as an osteopathy and his boss needed some Google advertising. So I did a bunch of courses on that, and they were the next client. And then I went to a careers expo and spoke to every single exhibitor there. There was about 150 of them. I did research on every single person beforehand. This huge, booklet where I'd written all my notes, and I'd go chat to every single person one by one for 2 days straight, trying to get some leads. And then that ended up getting my third client. And then I guess just from there, getting some referrals, hustling, and building it up to, that first year I ended up doing $19,800.
Nice. 200 off.
Yeah. And then the next year it was already a 6-figure business. And from the traction and the referrals and the word of mouth, it just grew from there.
Great. All right. Quite a few questions. This is good. Just the 1%ers listening in right now. Notice that Max actually talked to everyone in that exhibit room. I mean, that's the kind of action it takes, right? I mean, that's not something everyone does.
Yeah, I think with that, having that very clear goal helped me. So saying that I wanted to get $20,000 was like, as the year went on, I was like, I need to take bigger and bigger action, because I couldn't sit back and keep studying and keep learning how to code or whatever it is that I was trying to do. I had to go out and get some clients, because I had this date that I had to kind of achieve this monetary goal. And it was partially to some degree to prove to my parents that, hey, I could make this work, and I wanted them to not worry or try to force me to get a job. So having that goal made me want to take bigger action, I'd say. And then when an idea came, I just have to jump all in on it. I did cold calling, which was terrible as well. I did, everything, walk-ins, just anything to try to get some traction at the start.
Yeah. Okay. Now, after your third client, I think you got them through the exhibit or a referral or something. Yep. Let's just say a few months in, when you started to get like 5 to 10 clients, what was your primary method of getting clients at that point? Was it just referral based mainly, or walking up to them?
Yeah, it was mainly referrals. So I started going to a lot of business networking events as well. I'd say from like my 5th client to like my 15th client, it was essentially referrals. So either my clients referring me to other clients, or at a business networking thing, someone, you connect with someone and they know someone, and then they connect you to someone, and just building that web of people that knew me as the guy that was good at social media. And I really did take a lot of time to become really good at it. Like every online course that I could do, every YouTube video that I could find, every blog article that I could read, I made sure that I knew the most. So I really wanted to become, the best at this. So when people were speaking to me about social media, they're like, yeah, this is the guy. Megaphone is the company that we want to deal with.
Sure. And did you directly ask people you work with for referrals, or did they just do it for you because they loved your work?
I'd say it's probably more them just doing it, but now we specifically ask. So I think it's good advice to ask, or it's a good strategy to actually ask. But I don't think I was specifically asking back then.
Okay, great. All right, so you grew pretty quickly to 6 figures over that next year then. Now, because I'm actually in a similar position, I'm starting to see the growth, and so I'm just thinking where you were at your journey. Like, I'm starting to get referrals more coming to me, and I've got to this point where I just can't handle the workload, and I'm looking at hiring someone under me, and I've got some people in mind. But and I know there's people watching this that are in a similar position, right? So I'm wondering how you handled the growth, because there's a lot to do. You've got a lot of work to do. What did you do when you got to the point where there was so much client shit coming through, and you're like, how do I handle all this?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. One is I was always very conscious of efficiency with my workload. So really trying to make sure the things that I was doing for the clients was very high leverage, and I wouldn't. So, for example, I wasn't taking on clients to just post content on their Facebook page or write captions, because they could get a university student to do that, and it's not necessarily super valuable. I was trying to set up like the complex funnels and advertising and copywriting and the most complex stuff, which is the most valuable for them. So it's not necessarily the most time consuming, but it's the highest skilled. But as things scaled, then I hired my first employee, and it was originally just 3 days a week.
Okay.
And I think I had a fear around hiring someone, thinking that they might lose clients, they might steal clients, they might try to replicate the business, or they might not think that I'm legitimate as a boss. And when I was interviewing my first guy that I ended up hiring, I was probably more nervous than he was, because I just wanted him to think that I was a real company or something.
Okay.
But having that first employee and actually offloading work and, building systems around some of the things that I had done was like super important. And now we're at the point where we've got 16 and we're hiring 2 more. We probably hire someone every month right now, but we can really leverage the systems that we've got in place, and all the reputation that we've built up as a brand, and so people can fit in. And we've still got the highest strategic people overviewing everything, but we've got people that are new coming in that can hit the ground running with our systems that we've kind of developed over time. So people, and then build out those systems and leverage those people, then the more you can kind of scale and offer more value. So but there is a pain period with every kind of growth period, where you're figuring things out and you're trying to make sure they've got enough work, and then you're trying to make sure that what they're doing is the right thing, and you end up helping them, and it takes you longer than it would have been without having them, and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's like my main fear and concern at the moment. It's not that they're going to steal my business or anything like that, but it's trusting that they can, like, I'm sure they can do the work, and it's me just being a perfectionist, because I have always been a bit that way, because I edit videos, social media videos for clients, and I've got a marketing background as well here on YouTube. So it's like when I have someone, I'm scared of giving up that responsibility to someone else. But in the past, like I've had this guy edit a bunch of season 2 of my podcast episodes, and he turned out to be one of my subscribers, and he did a fantastic job. Perfect.
Awesome.
No problems. He was happy with the rates, and it was just great. So I'm like, what am I afraid of to transfer this to video editing, One
of my mentors said to me, I said, like, what if he does the work badly? And he's like, but there's also a greater fear in not hiring that person and being stuck at that thing. So, like, think about the risk of him messing up versus the risk of you stagnating at this level.
Right.
What do you actually prefer? And that kind of just like, that really kind of hit me on the head.
Okay. Now, in terms of pumping the revenue, let's say you're at let's say you're doing 3 or 4K a month, and you want to hit the 10K mark, maybe the 20K mark per month. What metrics are you looking at? Are you looking at raising the lifetime value of a client, repeat sales, the initial sale, or the amount of customers? What metric?
Probably leads in is the number one thing that we were looking at, because our close rate was fairly consistent. So if we were getting enough quality leads, then we'd close them and would retain them for a really long time.
Okay.
In terms of, we never really, I know that all business books say to do this, try to get more money out of your existing database and clients. And we do that. We have like other value adds if they want, some additional services. But I'd say the way that we really scaled was just trying to get more leads. And so really trying to understand lead generation as its own separate entity to what you're doing, and trying to figure out how do you just generate leads consistently.
Okay. And can you tell us more about when you had 1 employee and maybe moving on to having 2 employees as it was growing, what systems were you focusing on in terms of productivity, handling the workload? What does that look like specifically? Like a notepad or a funnel? What are we looking at?
In terms of what systems that we have with the employees, and so
to manage your own personal productivity, and to make sure that with the workload coming in, you can consistently get that output out, what the clients want.
I guess my theory on processes is to have the least amount of processes possible to ensure the highest quality of work possible. So, so you definitely don't want to proceduralize everything, but you want to look at what are the key components and what are the key checklists of things that need to be done with, all the core things. So like when we get a new client, they need to get the welcome email, they need to get the welcome pack, they need to get a follow-up email in 6 weeks, they need to, whatever it is. What are like if you had to boil down only like 7 or 8 core things that need to be done, what would be those 8 things that you can do to ensure a level of consistency of work? Or when you're setting out a report, these are all of the key metrics that you need to double check. And so really looking at the task and then trying to break down what are the bare bones. So you're giving the staff as much flexibility, and if you're hiring intelligent people, then you shouldn't need to build strong systems. You just need to give them the foundation for them to be able to be creative in. Okay. So I try to kind of really take it to the bare bones, but the bare bones shouldn't be enough to keep things consistent.
Okay, this is super valuable, not just to me, but to everyone listening that's in this sort of position. Okay. And so currently at 7 figures, what does your client, how do I say it, bringing in clients, what does that look like? Is it like an online sales funnel that just runs itself?
Yeah, so online probably represents about 30% of our lead generation right now. So we do a lot of our social media and paid search, and we're definitely looking to scale that up. And then referrals probably like 10 to 20% as well. And then we do direct outreach as well. So we find if we've had a big success for a fashion brand, and if we can find some brands that are similar to that, and we can leverage the case studies and the work that we've already done and reach out to those people in a really personalized, authentic, well-researched way, to show that we have a lot of expertise, then that can be a really good way to start a conversation as well, and eventually have them come on board as well.
Okay, cool. Now, this is a bit more of this question intrigues me, and that is, how did you must have been so involved in the hustle. Now, I don't know if you forgot about actually making money, because in a lot of people's minds, it's like, whoa, I want to be a millionaire one day. Imagine all that money. I could go on the beach and sip a cocktail. Yeah. So as you were making that money and hitting 6 figures for the first time and just going beyond that, what was running through your mind in terms of the money side of things?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the money's underrated in its importance. Like I think for whatever you want to do in life, money can really help leverage it. So if you want to be really healthy and you eat organic food and see a really good personal trainer, or if you want to change the world and there's causes that are really important to you, you can leverage that money. So for me, money was a function to be able to have more freedom and flexibility in my life. So, building the business that I want to build and surrounded by the people that I want to be with, and then also now building the YouTube channel as well, I can leverage, some of that money to help kick that off the ground and access really good and interesting people as trainers and coaches along that journey. And then ultimately, it's like a tool to do change for the world for me, which is really exciting. But then, yeah, just in terms of the short-term thing, it was just about just kind of taking away the stresses or pain associated with money from your mind. So, whose turn is it to get dinner? Mine or yours? And you just go, mine. It's fine. And you don't because it's an insignificant. You made a lot of money that day, so that meal doesn't matter. And if you lose your wallet or whatever it is, just taking away that stress or pain point around money is a really nice thing as well. And then just living that basic lifestyle that you want to live, I think is super valuable.
So you didn't ever get like the urge to, did you ever go, holy shit, I've got tons of money, let's splurge out in the 5-star hotels and buy 1 million drinks and buy limos or anything like that?
I'm trying to think of what I have splurged on. I like technology, so I have like, not crazy splurges, but like Google Home, like Wi-Fi lights, just anything that can add efficiency to my life. And like I like buying really good organic food, so nice. I'll order a lot of food online and get try to get the healthiest, cleanest food that I can get. Right now I'm seeing like a pretty expensive personal trainer, but is like a really good trainer. So I'd say that's splurging for me. I still drive like a terrible car, and you know, yeah. So a lot of the things that maybe conventionally people might want to spend money on, probably like as a typical idea of what people do with when they make a bit of extra money, wasn't as appealing to me. I think like I like also just saving and investing as well.
Gotcha. I find really loving the process helps big time, because for a long time I was struggling, and it seems money started coming to me as soon as I started actually enjoying what I was doing, which sounds really cliche, but I don't know if that's your experience.
So you're saying enjoying what you're doing, the money helped you enjoy what you're doing? Is that what you're saying? Or
I'm saying by enjoying what I'm doing, I found that money came to me more easily because I had more energy to work at what I'm doing, and it just created I don't know, almost like a wealth magnet for me. So that's just my experience, but I don't know about you.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I mean, I just love business. Business is really fun for me. So like I would, in my own time, had I not been running a business, read you know, a book on Elon Musk or a book on Bill Gates or whatever. That's fun for me. You know, talking about, you know, lead generation strategies or sales or hiring or whatever. That's fun for me. So I think it was always just fun for me from the start in terms of just running a business. So yeah, I guess it was just consistently, I just like the challenge of business.
Good as. All right, cool. So before we move on a little bit into what you're doing there on YouTube with the accelerated learning, one final question for people that are listening right now who we're sort of in a similar position where I am, and I'm looking at scaling because finally being profitable, you've got the workload coming in, but it's just a little too much. Any final advice for proceeding to scale the business?
Yeah, definitely. So if I think often with businesses, the thing that slow it down is, you know, lack of sales or lack of leads. And so selling is just that crucial component for all businesses. But if the money is coming in and sales are coming in and your workload's getting too high, then increasing prices is an obvious okay choice, particularly if you want to keep things by yourself. Then you can start saying, okay, we're usually $50 an hour, but I don't have any capacity. I don't even really want more work. So I'll just start charging $100 an hour and see if people want it. And if they want it, then awesome. And if they don't, then that's fine as well. And you're not stressing about losing that person. And then I also think, the next step would be looking at, in a small way, how do you start making it scalable? So, you know, how do you hire that first person to do one project, and instead of maybe hiring them on a full-time scale or anything like that, how do you just say, hey, I'll pay you X dollars. I've got $1,000 project. I'll pay you $400 for this project. And here's the kind of level of quality of work I want. And if you do that, then we can scale from there. And so starting small and then seeing how that works. I think finding the right people, if you are looking at hiring people, is extremely important. So the difference between a good person and a great person, extrapolated over a couple of years, is ridiculously large. So definitely slow down hiring process. It's one of those cliche things people say, but make that person do challenges, like really put them to the test to actually see what they're going to be like. So think about ways to really get them.
Sorry, just a sec. I got to grab the door. Sorry, you almost finished. Coming. Hi. Sorry, I'm just on a call, okay?
Yeah, leave it.
Sorry, there'll be a bit of background noise for a few minutes. This is why I want to move out. I'm so ready to fly away.
Yeah, that's awesome. But I guess the last thing is like getting really good people and taking the time to really figure out if that person's going to be awesome, because an awesome person will make a huge difference in the long run. And, you know, they're passionate about what they're doing. So if they're from your audience, they're going to be a lot more passionate and excited to deliver amazing results than, you know, someone with really good video editing skills that doesn't really care about what they're doing. You know, so things like that, I think, is going to extrapolate into like huge results. Yeah.
Killer. That's super valuable. Really appreciate it. All right, so we'll finish this off with what you're doing on YouTube. It's quite fascinating. Absolutely love it. It's very intriguing, and you're growing quite fast now, which is great. So tell us more about what you're doing on YouTube.
So essentially, it started with the idea that I just love learning new things, and I have a limited amount of time to learn everything that I wanted to do. So I set myself this challenge of every month learning something new. It's something that I've always wanted to do. So I've done things like skateboarding, where I tried to ollie, grind, kickflip in a month, or juggling with 5 balls, or drawing realistic portraits, or doing stand-up comedy, and then documenting that journey and talking about what I've learned and the struggles along the way. That's kind of the core content. And then on top of that, there's just some of the best knowledge that I have on like philosophy or happiness or things like that to supplement the content in the meantime, because once a month is not a lot of content. Yeah.
Which skill have you found to be the most difficult to learn so far?
Good question. Probably stand-up comedy. I think the thing with juggling with 5 is it's binary in the sense that you either can't juggle or you can juggle, and you can break down little movements. With drawing, it's less binary, but still you can break it down into figuring out shading techniques and sizing up the drawing and things like that. With comedy, I really think that it's just something that you can't necessarily rush. I think the more time on stage you have, then the more comfortable you're going to be on stage. And the more time you test jokes on stage, then the more you can realize what works and what doesn't. So I think that there's only a limited amount of, you might have a natural ability, but you really need to put in the work with comedy. And I don't think there's you can't get to that level of competency in comedy in a month than you could with other skills to some degree. Yeah.
Do you have a set of universal principles or systems in place for each thing you learn?
For sure. So one of them is definitely understanding the fundamentals of what you're doing. So, in juggling, it might be like consistent throw heights and how you have to hold your hands. So like, do you want them at your, stomach level or higher, and how much movement in your hands? And once you've got the kind of key basics down, then to stack on some of the challenges on top of that is really important. But if you're starting out, learning a backflip, but you haven't even learned the proper technique to spring upwards, then it's going to be really difficult, and you're going to learn some bad habits. So really getting those right habits is really important. And I also think, like, if you have the opportunity to, and I really think everyone does, is trying to get to someone that's good at that skill as quickly as possible to get constructive feedback. So, just like you said before, you could get mentors and you're getting that learning for free. I think a lot of the time, people, if they want to learn a skill, there's an opportunity to get a mentor out there. A lot of people, like skateboarding, people are probably just pretty happy to teach you because they just love what they're doing. But getting that feedback so that they can actually look at what you're doing and break down some of the movements for you and give you that feedback to say this isn't right or that is right, I think is really, really important. I'd say those are the 2 biggest. And then there's a whole series of other little ones, like, the 80-20 rule, like what you should be focusing on, deliberate practice. So like making sure your time in practice is spent on things that are actually going to be moving you forward, as opposed to, because you can be juggling for an hour, but if you're not practicing the right skill, then you're not actually going to be moving forward. Or you can be just watching YouTube videos, for example, but you need to actually be touching the balls and throwing them. So there's a lot of little things like that I think are important, but I'd say the first 2 are the main 2.
Yeah, I found it's quite scary because you can actually end up practicing the wrong thing. I know with learning to juggle 5 balls, I developed a sort of an angled pattern. So one hand would be slightly up than the other, and it ended up with this angle thing. I ended up rotating my body 90 degrees, but it was because I wasn't doing that exercise where you just throw the balls up and let them drop. That's what my juggling teacher taught me, and I saw that in your video, and I thought I should have done more of that.
That was a really useful exercise for me. Like, hearing that and hearing the rhythm as they land, to go, oh, it's going dun 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 or whatever. You can hear that rhythm, and you go, oh, clearly I'm putting a gap in there. And to try to make sure that rhythm's consistent was super helpful for me. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I think we might round it off. I think we've got 10 minutes to spare. That's about all the questions I've got for you. So is there anything else you want to touch on in terms of business or accelerated learning? Otherwise, I'll let my viewers know where to go and find your stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's everything, just to a high degree. I'd say with business, I'll say one thing on business, which is the two qualities that, I've read this in books and heard it from mentors, and it definitely is my experience too. The two qualities that I think are the most important for successful entrepreneurs is resourcefulness and resilience. So resourcefulness is to figure out the way to overcome problems. And, you can see a roadblock, like I can't get any leads, or I can't access any mentors, or I don't know how to hire a person, or, my clients, whatever the roadblock is. But the resourcefulness to leverage, the internet and your personal network and reaching out to mentors in different ways and reading books and whatever, that key skill, leveraging that, I think is just so important to overcoming your roadblocks. And then resilience as well. So like actually consistently going and fighting through those roadblocks, I think is, if you have those two skills, then you'll be successful in your endeavors. So yeah.
Oh, now that might sound boring and too simple to some people. I know some people want these really complex answers, or they want some kind of magic bullet or a formula or something. But these principles are very important, as boring as they may sound to some people. So I just want to reaffirm that.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, cool. So where can we find you and your stuff, Max?
Cool. So I've got a YouTube channel called Max Hertan. I'd say that's the number one place. I've also got an Instagram called Max Hertan, or a Facebook page. So any one of those things, hit me up. I've got my email listed on my YouTube channel. So feel free to give me an email if you want to ask me a question or anything. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. Done. Was that your piano in the background?
That was my Google Home. I think it's just updated itself.
Ah, nice. I'll just stop the recording now.